When I consider the connections I share with others, I wonder at the causes and choices that brought us together, whether it is familial ties or friendships forged during our educational years, co-workers without a choice but to be together, or the rare chance of discovering a kindred spirit while grabbing a beer or a cup of coffee. I wonder at the possibilities that bring people within each other's orbit. What keeps people together? Is it a shared blood or shared experience? Does the meaning behind the connection strengthen the bond? Do the connections we make with others add meaning to our own lives? Or is our unity with others precariously fragile if we lack a sense of self fulfillment? A Rage in Harlem provides a cautionary glimpse into the reasons why people are brought together and why relationships fall apart. On the surface, we can suppose that the main cast of the film is brought together and kept together because of a trunk full of gold. This type of MacGuffin is widely used in stories that bring together characters who would otherwise remain worlds apart, and it can easily overshadow their individualities. Everyone in A Rage of Harlem appears to be obsessed with obtaining the stolen gold, but what belies their obsession is their search for a more fulfilling life. The characters in this movie exhibit a heavy materialistic focus. Even the pious, naive Jackson is proud of the amount of money he has saved in the beginning of the movie, but he retains a dour disposition when thanking God for keeping women out of his life. He tries to connect to strangers through his show of gentlemanly manners, but is ridiculed. His coworkers mock him. He is told by his boss that Jackson will never get a raise despite his hard work. Even his landlady finds reasons to be disagreeable with Jackson. When he assists in solving a crime, the cops still arrest him. His only blood relation is Goldie, his stepbrother, who he hasn't spoken to in 5 years because of pettiness, as Jackson's pastor puts it. Religion is a major factor in Jackson's disunity from the world. It's the reason why he pushes away the friendly interactions of Claude X and holds himself apart in judgment of others who he considers heathens. Despite his piety, Jackson remains unfulfilled and trapped within a hollow existence. For much of the movie, he remains naive, which is not to be mistaken for courage. He only shows true bravery when he understands the risks involved when trusting others, even trusting his enemy, but decides to trust anyway. His courage shows when he doesn't become cynical to the world, and he sheds his dour expressions to embrace hope for a better future. He sacrifices the present and the materialistic for that better future. Jackson's motivation throughout A Rage in Harlem remains apart from most of the others because he becomes obsessed with Robin Givens' character Immabelle. His lack of establishing a meaningful connection with anyone besides his dead mother is what impulsively drives him to fawn and grieve for Immabelle. She provides his first experience of intimacy, after which he immediately proposes to her. When she declines, he supposes they will live in sin, which indicates that his motivations for marriage were purely religious. The rest of the movie sees Jackson chasing after Amabel, but is he motivated to pursue her because of a hero complex? He appears to want so badly for others to see himself as the avatar for everything good and adamantly juxtaposes the quality of his integrity against that of his brother Goldie, the Muslim Claude X, and his co-workers. Jackson's hero worship is ironically twisted and subverted as he succumbs to the laws that abide over Harlem. His gullibility makes him an easy mark for the sharks which surround him, a weakness instilled by an overbearing, overprotective mother. Jackson's mother holds sway over him after her death, as shown when he must remove her portrait from above his sanctified bed. He maintains a grudge against Goldie because of a perceived slight to their mother. He even symbolically replaces his birth mother with Immabelle by giving her his mother's cross necklace. Yet, this hallowed reverence for mother is derided and heckled at by the other characters, presenting how unreliable Jackson's sanctimonious nature will endure in this harsh, cruel world. However much Jackson wants to believe in his own virtuous facade, his idealized self cannot sustain against the immoral and duplicitous nature that is necessary to achieve his goals. Perhaps the most ironic aspect of Jackson as a holier than thou character is that all seven of the deadly sins are represented by him. The foremost is pride. Jackson condemns others he perceives as sinful, placing himself as judge and jury of their integrity by comparing them to his own devoutness. He even expects Claude X to greet him in a certain way, insisting that others conform their individualities to Jackson's self-made rules. He displays greed when he falls for the con perpetrated by Slim's gang, believing he could turn his $10 into $1 billion through magical means. He succumbs to lust when Immabelle is the first woman to show him any sign of affection and attraction. His wrath is displayed mainly through his relationship with his brother, because he is always quick to anger with Goldie. Even elements of sloth can be justified because Jackson omits any responsibilities towards his brother, and he begins taking shortcuts to bail himself out of trouble. Jackson's gluttony is shown when he is supposed to enter a bar without drinking, but immediately orders a drink, downing 3 whiskeys for his first consumption of alcohol, and intends to have more. Lastly, envy must surely motivate Jackson, as he cannot abide by Slim's possession of Immabelle, despite those two having an established relationship. Jackson's journey will transform him from the naive imitation of a hero into an actual heroic figure by means of struggle and adapting to the world beyond his comforts. Chester Himes depicts Harlem in his novel with dark, dreadful descriptions, but the film doesn't blatantly portray the novel's dismal environment and the suffering people that dwell within. Yet the city of A Rage in Harlem maintains a veneer of hellish design. Like a ferryman for the dead, Jackson works as an undertaker's assistant and reveals to Immabelle that his most pleasant connection with people are the corpses he attends to. The names of the 2 characters that embody justice are Gravedigger Jones and Coffin Ed. The voracious underbelly of Harlem society is eventually revealed with no lack of con men at every turn, and certainly no honor among thieves. Jackson's pursuit of Immabelle alludes to a descent into the underworld, where he becomes surrounded by devils and fiends looking to rob him of his soul. It is a story not unlike that of Orpheus, whose mistrust and fear led to his failure. Although he has his own failures, Jackson grows closer to his brother through their shared hardship and finds himself capable of feats he would never have attempted otherwise. His trust in others, despite any misgivings, becomes a true testament of courage, but he falls back on his dependency on religion, which betrays his inner strength and determination to achieve his aim. By the end, Jackson forsakes the material and sets aside any obligation to others except himself. The connection he has with Immabelle surpasses all others and transforms into a relationship of genuine companionship rather than idol worship or fantasy. A Rage in Harlem has plenty of other examples of unity versus a lack of self-fulfillment in its other characters, such as in Goldie, who lives rather lavishly but wants the stolen gold to somehow better his life. His pursuit of the material will ultimately cost him the most authentic connection he ever has with another person. Immabelle is a shade of gray, suffering in cognitive dissonance because she wants both the gold while actively seeking to be rid of it. Her initial connections with others are unhealthy, and she attempts to disassociate from the idea in hope of a meaningful connection by taking the train back to Mississippi. Although, why she would go back to the place where she's a wanted criminal is beyond my understanding. Slim and his gang are united through their shared sense of debauchery, but Slim's ego will prove fatal to the group dynamic. Even Easy Money, as portrayed by Danny Glover, is unsatisfied despite wanting for nothing. He doesn't need the gold, but he wants to make a deal for it anyway. He can have any other woman, but insist on having Immabelle regardless. He could even have a peaceful trade-off with Slim, but persist in provoking the tension into violence. It's no wonder that Easy Money's most meaningful connection is to his dog. Whereas people are merely a means to an end, tools to be used and abused, his dog can do nothing for him. Instead, Easy Money must provide for his pet, and the dog's entire survival depends on him, which is why Easy reacts so passionately when that minuscule grasp of true meaningfulness in his life is placed in danger. Is Immabelle symbolic of Jackson's one chance at finding a sense of fulfillment in his life? Is it fair to put that sort of expectation upon someone else, knowing full well that the pedestal we place others upon may be knocked down? Should Goldie know when to be content with what he has in the present? Or is he justified in his restlessness for something more? Does Slim symbolize the malevolence of unrestricted passions? And is the city depicted by Rage in Harlem actually a cage for the characters in which everyone is reaching for a way out? Watch for yourself and let us know what you think.